So, one thing I wanted to take a moment for here as well. It's been a busy start to the year. Hopefully, it's been busy and productive for you guys as well. And of course, we recently had our friends from Tucson joining us, so that big group. But we've also had a number of other folks that have come to professionals since around the end of the year and through January here. I want to take a moment and more officially welcome them too. So, Heather Rose, Christy, Jill Aker, Matt, Denise, and Sam Crosby. A couple of you I saw here. You can stand up for just a second, just like wave so people can see you. There you are. Welcome aboard. And one thing I want to mention in particular, which I just love, is again, you're all outstanding agents. I hope we tell you enough how much we appreciate all of you because we truly think you're fantastic. And I'm an analytical guy, as you guys know. Like the stats show it as well that you truly are above the crowd. But what I think is great here is if you just look through some of these names, so many people have connections to so many of us, which is really cool. So Matt there was a friend of Steve Cushing's and ended up joining us, and he's on Steve's team now, which is cool. Sam Crosby was doing Buffini, 100 Days, things like that with Steve Padilla. So we had that connection there, and he was excited to talk to us just, based on how awesome Steve was. So thank you for that. That was great. And again, there's just been so many of these pieces here with people knowing different folks. Denise, who just joined us down in Tucson. Lisa had actually met her, I believe, at a CRS event, but she also knows Jen Daniels. So again, that was like a happy little coincidence there. And again, that much more excited to get involved. And here she is, part of the professionals family now. So, I just love that. Thank you. And speaking of outstanding agents, yet more proof of that. So if you guys missed it in this last week here, Remax was once again voted most trusted real estate agents in both the United States and Canada. I think this is the fourth consecutive year for U.S. and Canada's had even more there. So some great marketing graphics, things like that you guys can use for this. So if you haven't already seen it, check that out. Potentially add some of those logos and whatnot. It never hurts to have that validation that you're particularly great. Also, remaxmarketing.com. Anyone familiar with this site? Have you guys used this specifically? See, I don't see nearly enough hands. Okay, so remaxmarketing.com, real easy to remember, right? When you go there, we'll have a login page. It's just your regular remax.net, like your Mac Center login. But that takes you to a page that kind of summarizes all of the marketing stuff that's out there. Last week, I believe, the 2024 marketing campaign rolled out. We've got some awesome new commercials. They kind of refreshed some of the really great ones from last year, too, which I love because I really liked a few of those. But there's so much good stuff there. And if you need something to, enhance what you're already doing or just, add to the flow you've already got going, real easy way to go there, get all that kind of stuff. And as another reminder, how about Remax Hustle? Who uses Remax Hustle? Okay, more hands. That's good. So again, if you haven't checked this out, just go to remaxhustle.com. You don't even have to log in to that one. And it is just dead simple to use this kind of stuff. So for instance, to customize a commercial right there, you just click on that. It takes all of about 2 minutes to actually have one of the Remax TV spots where you can actually modify it and plug in like your specialties of things that matter most to you as part of like the professional filming, and it just like weaves it together. So you can say I'm great at negotiation or relocation or whatever. It's got a list of things. You pick a couple of them, and it like weaves it into the commercial. The end card, it has you and your contact info. And again, like seriously, you fill in a couple check boxes, plug in your name, put in your photo. That's really about it. It literally takes about 2 minutes, and you've got a great professional piece of media. And what a great thing to put on social or any number of other places. And it's not just video, there's other things as well. I'm not going to go deep. We could do an entire class on it. But again, remaxhustle.com, it also has the new stuff added to it. Check that out.
Mike, I would say it takes about 30 seconds to do, to be honest. So, and the cool thing, once you go in, you guys can customize any of the national ad campaigns, download them all at the same time, put them on your desktop, and now you've got good content that you can rotate through. And what's really cool about that is if your people are watching Netflix and they see Remax ads, and then all of a sudden they're following you on social, they're seeing the same ad, and it connects you to the brand. So definitely very cool content from there.
Yeah, and also like this is something that some of our agents are doing more of with going deep on YouTube and video and things like that. But even if you're not going super deep on producing separate content yourself, what a great way to really kind of juice up your farm areas, for instance. You can do digital farming. There's a lot of these tools, right, where you can actually show these digital things to people that are in this physical area. And so if they're watching YouTube, they can actually see like a pre-roll ad of you. And oh, gee, what would I do for that? Use one of the professional Remax national ads, but with your information in it that you can build in somewhere between 30 seconds and 2 minutes, right? I mean, again, it's amazing stuff. Of course, yeah, go for it, Sarah. She's excited. This is good.
Say one thing. I just want to say one thing about the brand, you guys. A lot of times we see people, especially people who leave, right? They go, oh, I don't see the value of the brand. And then we look at their marketing, and the Remax balloon is nowhere or teeny tiny. The commissioner says that it needs to be clear and prominent who you work for. Technically, Remax Professional should be bigger than your name. Where's Shannon? Shannon, be proud of me saying this right now. It should be bigger than your name, right? You guys, the balloon sells real estate. We are the only brand that can claim that we sold 2 million homes in 2020. No other brand on the planet has done that. So it sells real estate, right? Anytime I wear a balloon or my name tag, I have conversations about real estate, right? I was in Total Wine the other day, had my Remax shirt, like, how's the market, right? So it sells real estate. So please use it, right? Use it, be loud and proud. And just another thing too, as not that we're going to talk a lot about NAR today, but as all of this unwinds, we're the only brand that stroke the check to get us out of the situation. And so as this continues to copycat lawsuits coming up, all these things continue, right? That's going to be something that's going to give us an advantage in the marketplace, in my opinion, that we are getting ourselves away from that. So definitely brand, right? That's what we're all here for.
I agree with that. All right. All right. So Lisa, she's up here from Tucson again. So thank you for making the trek. We appreciate that. For those of you that haven't met her or haven't, been more officially introduced, she is our business partner down there in Tucson. She's a part owner of that franchise. Been with Remax for what, 20 plus years now? And I mean, you can see the letter salad up there. Esquire, she is a lawyer, but also again, like really deep into education, all those kind of things. She's had a very successful team in brokerages and recruiting and all that. So a wealth of information. And one of the things I love here is again the collaboration in general as well. So Lisa was chatting with some of the folks down in Tucson about some of the same topics. Sarah was kind of talking about here, and basically just got some scripts and suggestions to share with us. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Mike. And good morning, everyone. And happy Black History Month. Today's day one of that, February 1. Do I have everyone's card who wants to be in this drawing? Because I'm giving away a $50 bill this morning. That we do raffles in Tucson at our meetings, usually 2, because it's exciting. All right. So let's have a winner. You want to risk being the one to pull? Okay. All right. Congratulations. To be in person. But anyway, welcome to everyone who's on Zoom this morning, particularly all of our agents in Tucson who have tuned in. Nice to see you this morning, even though I don't really see you, but I know you're there. And especially to Denise Nani, who joined us yesterday. Very exciting. And she started her career with Remax back in Atlanta and was with a different company in Tucson and just said, I missed my balloon. I missed the brand. Want to come back. So very excited about that. Anyway, I think Mike did a great job of telling you who I am. I have been in the real estate industry as a lawyer and a realtor since the late 80s. I teach momentum as well as Sarah. So we share a lot of the same language in common. I've been teaching it for about 7 years. And why am I here today? The reason I'm here today is because one of our agents said, with all this hullabaloo with the commission lawsuits and what's being stirred up about us getting paid and how we get paid, can you just give me, please, a simple script so that I can tell buyers how I get paid and what their options are? And I said, sure, let me do that. So I created the script that's in front of you on the table, and I ran it by Shannon, so it's definitely Shannon approved. And let me just go over scripts in general, nobody wants you to necessarily memorize something, right, Sarah? What we want you to do is grasp what? We want you to grasp the concept and idea behind the script, and then the structure and flow. And then you can memorize the script if you want to, or get the idea of it and put it in your own words so it sounds very natural. But this is really short. So the script goes like this. You're explaining to a buyer how you get paid. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you have indicated that you are ready to buy now and you are pre-qualified or willing to get pre-qualified. You've agreed that you want to work with me to help you buy your perfect home. This is the document, the buyer broker agreement, right, that allows me to represent you. It's called the buyer broker agreement. It describes our mutual obligations and it establishes how I get paid. Believe it or not, a lot of buyers have no idea how we get paid. So this is very important. My fee is X. Insert the amount of your fee. You get to charge whatever you want because you're a RE/MAX agent. And this agreement allows me to collect this fee from a listing agent and seller on your behalf. Most properties listed with MLS show a cooperating commission that covers all or part of this fee. On properties that are not listed with MLS, the seller may be willing to pay all or part of this fee as well. If the offer of compensation is less than my fee, we have three options. Number one, we can negotiate a closing cost contribution that would cover any shortfall. Now, there's a caveat here, and that is, and you can check with Tina from Motto and her team, there are limits depending on the type of loan the buyer might be getting as to how much closing cost contribution can be made by the seller or even you. So you have to check into that before you negotiate this. The second option is, buyer, you can pay the difference. Or three, you can buy something else. Pretty straightforward, right? Who here uses a buyer broker agreement currently? Yeah, not even half, right? So this is the future. Unless you want somebody else to determine your compensation, you got to get out there in front of it. And really, you want to be the one setting your worth, your value. And if you use any of the training that Sarah provides, that we provide in Tucson, the conversation that we have with buyers is to help them make an informed, intelligent decision. And this will elevate your value in their eyes, right? Okay, so
How many people per day say make an intelligent, informed decision? It's just speaking momentum right now.
right. Well, that's what we are. We're consultants. We're not deciders. We're just option givers. And here we are giving buyers options. And you know what? If somebody doesn't think that you're worth what you're getting paid, maybe you don't want to work with them. You know, so it's a good thing. Just have this conversation up front, get it out of the way, and then be clear. So one of the things I do, and there's a caveat with this, and Shannon said to make sure to tell you that this is an open-ended guarantee, but I like this because I really have never been fired by anybody that I've offered this guarantee to. So I put in the additional terms and conditions. Very simply, buyer may cancel this contract at any time by emailing me at my email address and the broker at, and then the broker's email address, right? And they think, wow, this agent is willing to let me out of this contract. So really, it's not a contract in a way, but it is a moral commitment. And it's clear that you have the authority to go out and ask for those closing costs if the buyer wanted to. Anybody have any questions? Yes. Of course. You can always do that, right? Yes, the question was, is a fourth option, can you reduce your commission? Absolutely. Anybody else? Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you this morning.
Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate that. And, you know, again, we've talked about pieces of this stuff like so many times from so many angles, and, you know, we've done some masterminds and panels and all that. And, you know, I think to your point, and of course, with anything else with scripts and dialogues, yeah, it's about finding the approach that works for you, but making sure you at least hit those key bullet points, you know? And I think right now, if someone's maybe not entirely comfortable with it, or if they've had, you know, one uncomfortable conversation with a client about it, they kind of like aren't doing it, again, I think it's a great idea. And yeah, we're definitely moving in that direction. So get comfortable now. And guess what? It'll be a competitive advantage for you as you move forward. All right. One other quick thing. So the $20 million referral system that we rolled out last month. So a ton of people jumped in there. We got a lot of comments and whatnot. And then, January happened, right? So question, who found some of the things in there useful, first of all? Okay. All right. This is good. That's all right. And then how many people have actually executed on some of those and put some of them into practice? Okay. All right. It's a smaller percentage than we like, but you know what? We get it. We understand how that goes. So I want to remind you that it's there. Again, it's got like the entire year built out. Focus on quarter 1. Heck, I think you can instantly name a couple of fun holidays there in the next 2 months, right? There's lots of ideas on things you can do around those, Valentine's, St. Patrick's, whatever. But just take a little bit of time. The whole point of the system, if you haven't gotten any deeper on this, is that you don't have to plan out every piece of everything. You can really just move a lot closer to execution on these things, and doing something is better than not, right? So we are going to go ahead and, as we had talked about before, do some masterminds around these, probably just like monthly, to talk about the following months to really help us stay on track and actually execute things. And as we noted last month too, we're starting to add additional content here, some of our personalized stuff as well, working with a few other brokers on this collaboratively. It's how we like to do things. So again, if you haven't been in there, jump on in, check it out. If you have been but didn't do a lot with it, go back in. And if you've got any feedback, or if you're finding a particular piece that's just challenging for you to actually get some of this stuff going, and that much additional connection with your sphere, please talk to us. Let us know. Maybe it's something that'll help out everyone else, but certainly we're happy to help you individually too. All right, and one last quick thing before we jump over to Sarah here. So Shannon's not here this morning, as you've probably noticed. She had a last-minute invite down to Department of Real Estate. They're having an in-depth discussion about, again, the topic du jour, right? Some of the various lawsuits, things like that, but specifically some of the policy positions. The department's taking on some of those things, things like they're related, like the affiliated business disclosures, right? How much are they going to enforce those? We've already put our position out there, and I think made that clear that we want to get those. And it's because, again, to Shannon's credit, she's very deep on this stuff. She's very detailed. She's been looking at where all this is going. And again, we're trying to be ahead of the curve. It seems like, Arizona Department of Real Estate is going to push some of that stuff harder as well. So again, more information forthcoming on that. Probably won't need to do anything different than, what we've already laid out, although not everyone's in the regular flow of doing it yet. So please make sure you're watching that. And with that, I'll hand on over to you, Sarah.
Right, can you hear me okay? Tim, can you thumbs up on online people if they can hear me? So I don't know if y'all noticed, but not, thank you. I don't know if y'all noticed that Bill brought crap this morning. After this, Girl Scout cookies. Like I have to say no when I see these because I have no self-control. Bill, can't hear me? I'm talking loud. So anyway, they're over here. There's still some left, you guys, so go get the Girl Scout cookie. All right. So diversity. So I have a confession to make. I used ChatGPT to come up with the title of this class today. Kind of cool, huh? I've been messing around with it. Woo, mind-blowing, really cool stuff. So we'll be getting some more classes on that coming for you guys. But diversity, when we think about diversity, little different things come up, right? We think about diverse situations, diverse cultures, right? And how do we effectively work with that? And so we didn't want to just call this a DISC class because some of you taking the DISC class didn't show up. So, but that's what we're going to talk about today is how we use the DISC personality. we bamboozled you here, Cindy. So Nate actually reached out and asked me. I was going to do it in March because we haven't done a DISC class in probably a couple years. Who's taken one with me in the past? A couple hands, right? So we don't have the version we were having through Workman since we were running so many of them, and the company that provided it wanted to start charging $150 to get. We're still can't hear me. It's so loud. I can't believe you can't hear me. So anyway, the Tony Robbins. If you go to Tony Robbins' website, you can do a free version. I don't have time to go over motivators with you today, so maybe we'll do a part 2, Mike, with motivators. That's a new element that's been added to DISC, which is really cool. So DISC helps us understand
who we are, but motivators help us determine what we're going to do. So if you haven't taken one yet, I would encourage you to go on Tony Robbins' website, go to the free resources and take that. If you've already taken it, but you haven't taken the motivators, then I would encourage you to take it again. Okay. So with that being said, are we all good now, Kim? Everybody can hear me? All right, awesome. So I'm actually certified to teach this as a workman coach, and I'm on a plane at 2:45 to go to Salt Lake. Hopefully I don't hit weather. It's supposed to snow there for 2 days of coach training. So you guys will, whatever I learn, I'll bring back and share with you. So I'm very grateful to be a part of the organization that pours into us twice a year, which makes me a better coach and then a better instructor as well for you guys and a better realtor. So that being said, let's jump in. So I love this quote, and I think it's Stephen Covey who wrote this. I stole it from somewhere. But the biggest communication problem is that we don't listen to understand, we listen to reply. And how many of us are uncomfortable with the pause? Jim, you're negotiating that weird silence that happens, right? If you've ever coached with me or even taken a class, sometimes I will just pause to gather my thoughts. And it's okay, you guys, to pause. Because he who speaks, what is that saying? He who speaks first loses, right? So it's okay to have that moment and to truly, genuinely be listening. We've all had an experience where someone was really, I mean, Erica, they were there, right? They were connected with you and they were really listening. So I think we all need to slow down. And especially right now, as we're defending our value in the marketplace and being referred to as the cartel, right? That really happened, guys, in court. We were referred to as the cartel. And so how do we, did you not, who's laughing? That really happened, right? It really did happen. There's a debate happening tomorrow, by the way, side note. A guy out of New Hampshire, I forget his name, super amazing. He has a YouTube channel called Crushing It. Love him. He's an amazing realtor, but he's debating the attorney for the case in Missouri. This is huge. So I'm hoping it's recorded because I'm going to be in Salt Lake. So I'm hoping it's recorded. They were supposed to take the stand together at the Inman thing that just happened like a week ago and was so controversial that they ended up not doing it. So it's being moderated. Should be really good to watch that. So definitely check it. If I get the recording, I'll push it out to you guys. All right. So jumping in here. So some of you, how many of you guys are familiar with DISC? Oh, great. A lot of hands. Cool. Okay. So the director, how much time do I have, Mike? I'm good. Okay. So the director, so that's what the D stands for, is the dominant personality. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through each of these in detail. What I want to do is explain how they tick. And then I want to give you some visual clues and some ways that you guys can pick up, because at the end of the day, people have a deep need to be seen, heard, and understood. And so what do I mean by that, Lydia, is that we wear our heart on our sleeve, right? So Lisa, when you're interacting with people, we have a deep need to be seen, heard, and connected. Even the most terrible person on the planet needs that, right? And so when we think about the director, that's the dominant personality style. The I is the socializer. This is the person that is the life of the party. Then we have the S, which is the relator or the supportive person. If I said I had a headache, who in here has aspirin for me? Okay. Diana, how many do you have? Or no, I'm going to go with Leslie. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on. How many types of aspirin do you have in your purse? 2? Okay. Diana, how many do you have? You just 1? Okay. Anybody got more than 2? Right. So I'm going to guess you probably might have some S personality, right? Because that's what S's do. They want to nurture and take care of the people around them. Then we have the C. This, you have it for yourself. Is there a laser beam on this mic? It's the dominant director over here. Good. It's that one. Okay, so then we have the C, which is the thinker, right? If you can think calculator. And I'm going to give you guys mantras too for each of these personality styles. And a lot of times you will hear them say it. Like when I'm in high D, so I'm a 98D in my natural state. And so when I'm in my high D, like I've literally said to people, what's the bottom line? Like move this along, right? So I'm going to go through each of these in detail for you guys and give you some stuff you can take away. All right, so primary combinations. And as we go through this, it'll start to make sense. So D's and I's. This is very common. So I'm an ID. And then at home, or when I go out, it flips, right? So I have a higher I, lower D, right? And so this is very common because their body language, how they make decisions, all of that, their physical attributes are very similar. So it's not uncommon to see a combination of a DI, okay? Next common thing is SC. Same thing here, you guys. They're slower in their speech, more reserved, more cautious, right? They value the relationships. They're not going to make fast, spontaneous decisions. And by the way, I will tell you, any deal I've lost in 26 years of selling real estate, they were a C, and I misdiagnosed. because my high I, right? So they can be very challenging to pick up. So very common, right? Again, decisions are made the same way. Body language is the same. Uncommon is DS, right? Because Ds are direct, S's are not, right? So Ds are very blunt and to the point, very fast paced. They make decisions fast paced. Anybody work with a buyer that walks up and says, "This is the house I'm going to buy," right? Love those buyers, right? And so I'm working a buyer right now that I've showed him 17 houses. I'm like, what is going on? Total C squares, right? So they're very slow to make decisions. So we don't see this combination because they're opposite of each other. The next kind of uncommon is IC, same thing. I's are outgoing, right? And I might come in here with a yellow tube top. Whereas a C would be, they would die 1,000 deaths before they would wear a yellow tube top, right? So it's an opposite. They don't make decisions the same. Their body language isn't the same either. Another combination that used to be until the market crashed, at least in my opinion, I've studied thousands of discs over my lifetime, used to be very uncommon to see a DC. Now we see a lot of them. And I think what happened was people who were high D's, right, and they lost their butt, now all of a sudden they got to be more C. And I'm going to explain more of what that means. But here's what I have come to understand after that shift in the world is that D's and C's have a lot in common. They're both control freaks, right? They both want results. The difference is the D, use Nate as an example because he's not here. Nate could walk in and say, "Hey, the grout needs to be cleaned in this office. Somebody take care of it." They delegate. The C, on the other hand, would say, "Grout needs to be taken care of. Let me go find 3 of the best star rated people to come out and give me an estimate." So they both have that attention to detail, just one's the doer, one's not, one's the delegator, okay? So starting to see a little bit more of that. They can be challenged, right? Because, Ds are fast-paced, Cs are not. I dated a guy who was a DC and he was buying a vehicle. And I found myself really frustrated with the salesperson because he was not getting it, right? And how to close this guy. So I eventually closed him on the vehicle he purchased, right? Because I could speak his language. And he was spending so much time for a used vehicle. And at the time, he was paying like $5,000. It was a long time ago. Spending all this time researching for a vehicle why? Right? And so a script that I like to use with a C is, "Jim, if I get you this information, is it the information you need to make a decision?" Because they will fact find because they just do, right? And then the next kind of uncommon is an SI. Starting to see more of these too. I personally think SIs make great salespeople because both S's and I's are people. They value the relationship. And if we have a higher S, it makes a better blend, right? Because the S's listen a little bit better. They have better listening skills, but definitely starting to see more of this. And again, if any of you guys haven't taken it, go to Tony Robbins. If you want me to go through it with you and deep dive, I don't have time to do one today with you, but you can email me and I'm happy to either jump on the phone or jump on Zoom and dissect your report with you. Okay, so who's the D? So as you can tell, I'm a little bit fast-paced, right? Using my body language, using my hands, right? So they're fast-paced. Decisions are made very quickly and spontaneously. Years ago, I wanted to buy a TV because I was having a party that Saturday. I drove to every Best Buy until I could find the TV I wanted and I could take it home. There was no research. I knew I wanted a TV. And at the time, one of those really big, bulky box, flat screens, right? Really old. So that's a great example of someone not doing research, right? Would a C do that? No, C's going to research the heck out of every single different type of TV out there to make a decision on what's going to be the best buy, right? So they are about business. They fear being taken advantage, but the interesting thing about a D is they will give trust right away. They'll give trust right away and then find reasons to not trust you and micromanage you, right? Even though they don't really want to micromanage, but because they ultimately do have trust issues, just like the C, you have to earn the trust with the C. You really have to earn it. Think of the movie, the Flockers, what it's called, Flockers, the inner circle, right? The inner circle of trust. That's kind of what a C is. So bottom line results, right? These guys, we wouldn't have electricity if it wasn't for the Ds. Because they are innovators, they're visionaries, right? They see things, they see things different. A lot of times they're entrepreneurs. And so entrepreneurs act differently. And so we wouldn't have electricity if it wasn't for the Ds because they are the ones that make things happen, right? They're the visionaries. And then they put people around them to make it happen. So they're strong at delegating. They have great leadership skills. They are motivated by winning and being in control. And I'm gonna give you guys some more details on that. So oftentimes we'll see them be CEOs, presidents, military leaders, realtors, right? There's a lot of Ds in this room that are realtors because they want to be their own boss, right? They want to be in control of things and they want to be in control of their own future. So the D, oftentimes we'll drive big, dark colored cars. How many people in here drive a dark colored car? SUV, maybe Cadillac, Mercedes, right? That's a clue you might be a D, okay? So when you're working with people, pay attention to that, right? If you roll up to somebody, if a buyer comes to meet you at the office, what kind of car are they driving? When you go to their home, be intentional to open the pantry, go in the closet. Do they have a wall of fame, right? I used to have a wall of fame, but it wasn't my children. It was me and all the cool places I'd been. So what would that clue be? That I'm an I, right? Enough about you, Lydia. Let's talk about me, right? And so when we think about the Ds, so verbally, they're going to tell more, they're going to speak more, and they oftentimes will even speak over you. I remember being on the phone with Frank. Frank's a real high D, and he was literally done with the conversation, and I'm mid-sentence, and he hangs up on me. Love you, Frank. But he was done with the conversation. He was just done, right? I was continuing to talk and blabber on about nonsense that he didn't have any time for, so he just literally hung up the phone on me. And I had to laugh because it was my own fault, right? Because when you deal with the D, you have to save them time, right? You have to save them some time, but not be in control. So forceful tone, loud, faster speech, faster pace, right? Just they have a command of their presence, right? Of being in control. Handshake, let's talk about some visuals. So handshake is going to be firm. They're going to have steady eye contact. And this is important, you guys, because culturally, there are some cultures that think that direct eye contact is considered aggressive. So you got to be careful with that, because if you're a D and you think someone who doesn't have direct eye contact is shady, right? We have to be careful of that, because that's not, and Cs are the same way. Cs think it's aggressive. So you want to be careful of your cultures there. They will display impatience. Jim, you ever felt impatient? Yeah. I found myself being impatient yesterday in my own home. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm being such a D right now. So you got, so I have firm handshake, car, right? It's a really great example of a car. I put blunt, question mark, rude. I found myself feeling rude sometimes when I'm being impatient or under pressure, because under pressure, Ds will come across as being rude. And so when we deal with a D, they're very direct and to the point, and sometimes that hurts our feelings. They're like, wait, Andrea, I want to talk about the weather and the football team and Taylor Swift. And they don't care about that, right? They want to get to the bottom line. Yes, Jim. You should reread them and right. Yeah. So Jim, for those online, Jim said if you are a D, you might want to take time to reread your email and put some personality, a little fluff to it. Yeah, I've sometimes found myself just using the subject line. Right? I mean, it's efficient. So yeah, so if you're a high D, and especially if you have a team or people that you interact with, Nate has had to learn, and there's a difference between our emotional intelligence, right? And we have our adaptive style versus our natural style. So adaptive is how you are when you go out into the world. Your natural is when no one's watching. And we want to see if there's a distinction there. Like mine doesn't change much, right? I am who I am. But if sometimes we'll see people when they go out into the world, there's a big difference there. So that could be an area of stress. And so is it good stress or is it bad stress? So that's something we can talk about and dissect in your reports. But your natural is who am I when I go out, right? And then I have my natural is when I'm at home in my natural state, and then my adaptive is when I go out into the world. So we have emotional intelligence. And as we mature, hopefully that emotional intelligence gets better. And we learn that in different situations, I have to adapt. And if we're great at being salespeople, we have to understand that too, to be a chameleon. Because I need to understand Lydia and how to speak to Lydia, right? And how I negotiate with her is going to be different than I might negotiate with Jim, right? Okay, so let's move on, continue on. So how do I work with a D? So we want to communicate with conviction, save them time, focus on the task and the results. We want to give them options. So I'm not going to call Jim and say, oh my God, Jim, we have this huge problem and I don't know what to do. Because what is Jim going to do? Jim's going to cut me off and he's going to squash me like a bug, because he doesn't have time for that and he doesn't care. No offense, but you don't care. Like you do, but you don't, right? You don't. And so instead, I'm going to call Jim and say, Jim, we have a challenge, which by the way, I don't use the word problem. That's not a word I use, challenge, because challenge means I can rise up and solve it, right? So Jim, we have a challenge. I suggest option A, option B. Which would you like? Am I really in control of the situation? And by the way, that works with your spouses too. So I'm still in control, right? But I've messaged in with conviction, but I'm giving Jim the ultimate decision on how we're going to move forward with that. Okay. So don't leave these long, airy fairy messages on voicemails. Likely that they're going to delete it and not even listen to it. Because I don't have time, right? I don't have time. Nate used to back in the day, well, Tina, you would remember this. People would answer the phone. It's a wonderful day at Remax Professionals. This is Sarah. How can I help you? And Nate's like, knock it off. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. Like, get to the point, right? And so we got rid of all the fluffy stuff, right? And so we want to respect that, support their decisions. Their mantra, you guys, is what's the bottom line? If there's anything you take away from this, is what's the bottom line, right? So they are competitive, and D's will bend the rules to win. Whereas C's are competitive too, but C's are going to follow the rules. So that's another thing they have in common is that. Okay, what else can I tell you guys about the D before I move on? I think that's it for now. Okay, so oh wait, hold on. I do have one more thing. So when you're at a D's house, so they oftentimes could be minimalist, right? Or very simple things, so things that make sense, right? Because it doesn't make sense to have the wall of fame. At work, they're not going to have a lot of fluffy stuff, right? Everything's going to make sense, okay? So again, when you're dealing with them, be fast-paced, match them. Part of what we do is being a chameleon, right? So we want to match people's pace and how they talk and interact. He's not going to get their feelings hurt either. Like, you can be really direct with them and they're okay with that. Okay, so who's the I? Fast, spontaneous, outgoing, loud, right? They might come in, Mountie, and give you a hug the first time they meet you because they're excited, or a fist bump, right? These guys are the life of the party. There was a shirt a long time ago I saw at the mall that said, I was on my way to conquer the world, but I got distracted by something sparkly. That's legitimate for an I. I remember being with Nate one time. We were on our way to go preview a house somewhere in the West Valley, and we got on the 101, and this was back in the day when we were all riding motorcycles, and the Harley dealership has all the flags going. And Nate's like, ooh, what's happening over here? We're on our way to an appointment. And we exit the freeway. And next thing I know, we're at the Harley Davidson dealership. They're having a party and we're partying along with them, right? So that's a great example of someone being literally, I got distracted by something sparkly, exited the freeway, right? So yeah, I mean, how many of us has that happened? Like, we have a client that we match that same energy with. And next thing you know, you're going to happy hour instead of talking about real estate. So you got to be careful of that too. And you got to be careful when you're dealing with spouses. Another great story about Nate. Wish he was here. Watch the recording. He wanted a listing appointment. I still remember the house, shaved floor plan. Anyway, high S mom, had young family, high ID dad. And they get talking about motorcycles, right? And dad's like, I still want a motorcycle. It's on my list. And mom's like, not having it, right? So we didn't get the listing because Nate and the dad connected over motorcycles. And why didn't we get the listing, Brandy? Because Nate was a threat. Nate was a threat because they clicked so quickly. Mom's fast forwarding and planning funeral. The dad's going to die on a motorcycle. She's going to be a single mom. So we didn't get the listing because of that. So you have to be really careful that, and we do tend to do that, right? We tend to bond with one person better than the other, right? I know immediately when someone's a Libra, like, we're just best friends, like right then. Don't even know you, we're best friends. So you have to be really careful of that you are paying attention to those clues. And that we did. That's a legitimate story that happened, and we lost that listing. And the reason we know that is we went back and surveyed it and figured out, right? And we were able to look at that and say, okay, this is what happened. And so you have to be really, really careful about that, you guys. Okay. So the I is flamboyant, flashy, outgoing, right? These guys are the life of the party. They would wear the yellow tube top and come to the office, okay? They seek fun and recognition. I'm the coolest person you know, so why wouldn't you invite me to a party? Right? I mean, I am. So why wouldn't you invite me? So that's the best way to hurt an I's feelings, is don't include them, okay? They need to be included in everything. They make great salespeople, entertainers, bartenders. We're gonna have a little game here in a couple slides and see some famous people and see if you guys can figure out who they are. Okay, so the I picked a yellow convertible, right? Very flashy. So verbal. So they're going to tell a lot of personal stories. We probably had an interaction with someone where you're like, TMI, right? It's a little too much information. That's a good clue that they're an I, okay? They're going to be messy, right? They're going to be messy. They have a lot of variation in their tone. They're dramatic, they're loud, they're fast paced. They're difficult to work with. They are, because they're messy. They don't like attention to detail. They don't want to do their spuds. Right? They don't want to. They don't want to clean their house and have it ready. You open the pantry and things might fall out. right? That's because they don't have time for it because they're out having fun. So their mantra is like literally, let's enough about you, let's talk about me, because they're out having fun. When my nephew was a little in first grade, he got in trouble. And I remember saying to him, buddy, like, what happened? And he puts his hands on his hip. He goes, Auntie, I'm just not having any fun. I'm like, dude, you're 6. Like, we're already like, diagnosing you as an I, right? And so people leak who they are. So pay attention to that. If you're an I, it is really easy to connect with an I. Okay. So animated have a lot of facial expression. And again, we have to appeal to their sense of flair, right? So when you go to their house, if you see the Wall of Fame and there's a picture of them on the Black Beach in Maui and you've been there, you want to take the time to connect with that. And don't talk about you, let them talk about themselves and what a great time that they had there. So I want to appeal to their sense of like, who do you know that's cool, right? And that you have that cool factor there. But you have to incentivize them because otherwise they won't clean, they won't fill out their spuds, right? Because that stuff is boring and tedious, okay? How would we incentivize Jennifer? That's pretty funny. Yeah, you are our eye there. So okay, so you have to make it fun. Make a game out of it. Appeal to their like, oh, we have if we want to get your house sold. Kind of. I don't. How do I articulate this? Like, you have to make it fun. That's the best way I can say it. Just make it fun. Make it appealing for them. If you can take some of the pain away, right? Make it easy for them or easier. Give them a reward. Yep. So plan their party after you sell their house. Perfect. So that was that they can brag about all the great things they've done to their home. Yeah. Tell them a story, right? Stories are great. Okay. So I hope that helps, Cindy. So you just got to appeal to that flair and make it fun for them and take away the pain. How do we again communicate with flair and save them the effort, right? Because again, if it's boring and tedious, like a spreadsheet, ugh, right? They're not going to do it, right? They're not going to do it. Whereas your C's, they got to have spreadsheets. Like they live by their spreadsheets. So focus on the interaction and the relationship. I joke that I's are difficult, but I love working with I's because they're fun, right? They are fun. They're spontaneous and you have a good time, right? They'll make quick decisions. Them and the D's, they make great quick decisions. I got this buyer showed 17 houses. I'm like, come on. This is what you say you want? What are we doing? We were obviously missing the button, missing some detail here, right? So that's my D kicking in. Like I expected after 11 houses that they would write on one. Now we're up 17, right? And every single one of them, they check the box, but we're missing something because they're very high C personalities. So incentivize, give testimonials, right? Plan the party, understand their mantra. So enough about you, let's talk about me, right? Get them talking about themselves, and then slip in the boring details from there. All right, so the S, am I doing on time? So the S, so slow and relaxed, casual, right? So the D is gonna come in, might be business casual, also dark clothes. The I is gonna be flair and outgoing. Look at me, right? This S is gonna be much more casual, right? They don't want to make anyone uncomfortable. A great example that Rick Jiha, rest in peace, one of our master coaches, was a whiz at teaching disc. He gave the example of being on a ship and the S is overboard. And there's a bunch of people on the ship going, here, Mountie, take this life vest. Come on, we'll save you. And the S goes, no, you go ahead. I'll be all right. Because they don't want to bother anyone, right? They don't want to be a bother. They're there to help, right? And to nurture you and take care of you. Nobody really likes to ask for help, right? I don't. I've gotten better about it as I've gotten older, but S's definitely don't because they're the one helping you, right? Their sense of purpose in the world is attached to what they do for other people. So I love them as clients because they are so loyal and they listen to you and they'll never call you on a Sunday. Right? They won't because they respect your time, right? They respect that. Okay. I love them. Now, quick story about an S that ties into this is that I had this lady, her name's Mary, and I've sold Mary and her family a lot of houses. And during the crash, I had sold her son a house, and he had been in a really bad car accident, worked for a technology company that went, or what was that company that sold? It was like Best Buy, but it went up bankrupt. Thank you. Worked for them, Circus City. So he gets in a bad car accident, loses his job, and we were trying to negotiate a short sale. And at the time, their, short sales were nothing short. And so she's such a high S, right? I was sick during part of what we were doing in the transaction. She actually drove to the office and brought me chicken noodle soup, right? And then fast forward a few months later, the bank is not negotiating the short sale for us. And this sweet lady who brought me chicken soup, who's a really high S, turned into Mama Bear. And I eventually, Cindy, when I would see her caller ID, I would not take her phone call because she came out swinging. And we think about watching National Geographic and you see the mama bear on the shore, right? She's playing with her cubs and we all go, oh my God, it's so cute. And then someone tries to mess with her cubs. Oh, did you guys see that video of the guy hiking in Utah with it was a cougar. I think it was a cougar, mountain lion, something. Oh, terrifying. Anyway, if that would have been me, I would have been killed. He handled it great. But another great example though is he was on a trail and he comes across a mama lion or mountain lion, thank you, with her babies. And he's just hiking. Well, she freaks out and chases him. And he literally has to run backwards and he has the little GoPro on. He handles it great, saves his own life. But that's a great example of, an S, right? If you mess with their cubs, they will come out swinging. And we all take for granted thinking the S's are so kind and sweet and soft-spoken and they're polite. But if you mess with them, they will come out swinging because what they care about is important to them. And so just a reminder of that we don't want to push them to that point, okay? They're great listeners. They're great team players. Their mantra is literally like, can't we all just get along, right? So they don't make decisions quickly. Nurses, social workers, teachers, sometimes realtors. We've got a few people in here that are S's that come from past lives. Kristen was a teacher before. So how do we work with them? So they listen more than they tell. So they're great listeners. We have a steady, warm, soft, slower approach. So if I'm negotiating with an S, I'm not going to come into the office with the same force that I might with a D or an I. I'm going to come in the office and I'm going to sit down first, maybe next to them. Hey, Lisa, how's it going? How's your family? Right? I'm going to make small talk with her. I'm going to change my pace. I'm going to slow down and match that. And then I'm going to present whatever I'm presenting, if it's a counteroffer or something. But we have to build that relationship. Like I said, they're very loyal. You get in the inner circle of the S, they're clients for life. Okay. So these guys also could have intermittent eye contact. So you want to be careful about that. The gentle handshake or a side hug. Especially once you get to know them, they're going to lean in for the side hug, right? Kind of give you that, that awkward, weird thing that people do. So D's not going to do that, right? If I ask you guys to stand up and go get hugs, like how many people in here be like, Sarah, no, stop it, right? You're right. But your S's would love it, right? And your I's would love it. Okay. So slight hug. Oh, and then minivan. I hate to be stereotypical, but it could be a minivan. That doesn't mean that they have children, right? They could have a bunch of pets. So, but something's, that they can take care of people in. So how do I work with them? So we want to communicate with warmth. We want to save them conflict. I worked with a lady one time at my first real estate job. She faxed her resignation. She was that high of an S that she feared conflict so much. She literally faxed her resignation. So they will do anything to avoid that, to avoid conflict, okay? They focus on the relationship and deepening that. We want to give them personal assurance. They do not make quick decisions, and their decisions are made with everybody else. Somebody who took this class with me years ago shared a story that she had worked with a client. Husband was a C, the wife was an S. She was a in-home daycare. She asked every parent of the children that she had coming to her home if it was okay that they moved. Right. And so that was because decisions are made with others. So these guys, you guys, they might be the one who needs to bring their mom and dad, their best friend. They got to look at the house a couple times, right? Because again, those decisions are made collectively. So their mantra is let's all work together. Okay. So the C, these guys are slow, systematic, formal. We had a guy on our team that he finally started wearing jeans and he ironed them because that was casual to him versus wearing slacks that he wore every day of his life until he got into real estate. So very formal. So they fear criticism. These guys, that's why they work things over and over and over, is they don't want to make a mistake. And so if you catch a C with a mistake, try not to rub their nose in it, right? Because they don't like that and it makes them feel really uncomfortable. Okay, so they want to be accurate. So they fact find until they feel like they are. I love saying to a C that, Erica, you've done such a great job. If every person I worked with was as informed and prepared as you are, I wouldn't have to sell real estate. You have to give them the permission to act, right? That they've done a good enough job researching this and that you've helped them. That same guy who pressed his jeans, he was also one of our clients. And we sold him a house. He wanted to know how many 4 bedrooms were on the south side of the street. Why? Why? And he had no logical reason as to why. So that's where you have to ask them and say, if I get you this information, is it the information you need to help you make a decision? Okay. They are organized, right? These guys are organized. These are the guys that when you walk in their pantry, it's all organized, or you go in their closet, it's all by season, right? I'm lucky if my stuff ends up on hangers, right? So half the time it's on the edge of the bed, and then I just wear it again, right? That would drive us crazy, right? Would drive them crazy. That's TMI. So they enjoy the process, right? Competency. Engineers, accountants, librarians, they lack inflection. You guys remember that TV commercial with the guy that did the toothbrush? It was like really boring, right? Or what was that movie, Bueller's Day Out? Bueller, right? Those are like, they lack inflection. They're very slow, methodical, kind of boring in some regard, right? So monotone, low volume, right? And these guys, so fewer expressions or eye contact, again, that might have the limp fish handshake. And us Ds are like, wait, what? No, they might. So the other thing with these guys is when they're under stress, they will get aggressive. They can get aggressive. They can also just ghost you. And so you want to be careful with that. Now, I picked this truck, did a little research for you guys. Based on 2024 Edmunds Car Report, this is the #1 rated midsize truck. So with a C, it doesn't really matter what type of vehicle it is, but it's going to be the best in class. It's going to make sense for what they need in their life, right? Based on whether that's a minivan, a truck, a car, etc. Okay, so that's how they make decisions. It's got to be very accurate. You guys, you have to be super accurate with C's. They have a really freaky way of doing math in their head without a calculator, and they're spot on. So if I say it's about that's a really bad example, $200 a square foot, but it's really $201.50, because I have to earn their trust, that's already one check against me that Leslie's not accurate, right? She's not factual. So, and if they correct you, that's even worse. So you have to be very precise with these guys, and look for those clues, right? They're the way they dress, the way they walk, it's going to be slower, more formal, right? And so you got to look for those clues. And again, when you go in their home, the pantry and the closets are great giveaways. And then the photos on the wall. C's are going to be minimalist. It makes 0 sense to put a bunch of personal stuff on the wall, because then when I move, I'm just going to have to spackle and paint it. Doesn't make any sense, right? So they're not going to give a lot of personal details. That's why when you get in the inner circle of a C, it's a really special, trusted place to be, because you have to work for it, right? You have to. Okay, so how do I work with them? So communicate with accuracy, save them the embarrassment, focus on the tasks and the process, give them data and documentation, right? You have to give them stuff, right? You have to research that stuff and ask them those things. And again, they're going to ask you for things that it's like, well, why do you need that? And then you want to respect their mantra, which is, how does it all work? That same guy with the pressed pants, when he was on call for his first time on the team, he literally walked through the phone system as if he was someone calling in, because his mind, he needed to know how it worked. He needed to understand that, right? And so you can't rush that. They're very slow to make decisions. Unlike the S's, decisions are made together. These guys just need time to process, right? And feel like they're making a good decision and do a lot of research. That can be very frustrating for us D's. And that's why in 26 years, all the deals I've ever lost were C's, because I didn't diagnose it correctly, and then I didn't pay attention to what they needed to help them make a decision, okay? So that can be frustrating clients to work with. All right, so let's play a game. What do you guys think Oprah is? What do we got? I? You think D? Who else? I use ChatGPT for this too, you guys. So according to Chat, she would be, and then it has a little disclosure, right? She would be an I. Right? Come on. Did you see her at the Oscars recently? First of all, she's taken that Hollywood drug, so she's really skinny. But in almost every clip, she somehow managed to get herself in the video clip on what it was, the Oscars or whatever was recent that just happened, right? So she's, according to Chat, she would be an I. How about this guy? Yeah, definitely. I mean, just the way his face is, right? His facial expression, right? And then the funky weird thing that he's doing, right? Look at his style. Right. So good job on that. How about this guy? Totally, right? What is he? He like yells at people in the kitchen, right? He's hardcore. Yeah, totally a Dean. Look at how his face is too, right? Like he's like, I'm very serious right now. It's all about business. And of course, that's probably a stage photo. But how about this lady? Mm-hmm. Yeah, the mother of altruism, right? So definitely very high altruistic. So when you see people that are involved in the community, volunteer, like involved in their kids' stuff, right? Like giving. So that's what S's do. When you guys take the motivators, altruistic is one of the motivators on there, and it's not uncommon for high S's to be high altruistic because again, your sense of value is attached to what you do for other people. How about this lady? Love her. She's from The Orange is New Black, and then she was on that documentary about inventing Anna, which if y'all have not watched that on Netflix, definitely worth it. And then she hosts the red carpet. Yeah, she's a high I. She makes this really weird noise at the red carpet, like some weird like when she sees people wearing certain clothing. So yeah, I would say she's an I. How about Mr. Bill Gates? S or a C? Somebody said D? Okay. I think he's a C. Because look at even how his body language is and how he's dressed, and his choice of glasses, and even how his shoulders are kind of a little bit rounded, right? That to me, that body language is there as being, kind of conservative and private, right? I have a great quote sitting on my desk that says, $40,000 ought to be enough for anybody. Bill Gates, like 1980. Really? That's pretty funny. So, all right, couple more. How about this guy? Controversial. I know some people might not like this guy. D? Yeah, I think so too. And again, look at what he's wearing. Dark shirt, right? Yeah, I would definitely say, or dark shirt, dark jacket, sorry. And very business casual, right? But has a sense of command, like control, right? Okay, and lastly, according to Chat GPT, what do you guys think? We got S, C, S. Yeah, S. So, and even look at that picture. He just looks so warm and inviting. All right. Thanks for humoring me. Okay. So how does this apply to real estate? We will have to pay attention to details, you guys. Again, people leak who they are. Practice this on yourself, and your loved ones. It's great to do in a relationship, right? To know what your partner is. Okay. Is their vehicle filled with kids' stuff? Do they have utility bills for the last 10 years? And are they in plastic slips organized by year? Because that might be a C. And by the way, that's a true story. I had a seller that did that. Literally had all their utilities organized like that. Today would probably be digital. Do they have a wall of fame? Is their wall of fame like my ex-mother-in-law, where it was all 6 of her children from birth to graduation to wedding, right? That was a wall of fame, but she was a high S. My wall of fame is all the cool places I've been, right? That you want to talk about with me, okay? Is their backyard like a tiki bar? I've actually been to listing appointments where we go in the backyard and hang out and they put on Jimmy Buffett. Right? That's probably an I. Okay. How organized is their pantry and closets? You guys, that's a dead giveaway. So definitely make an excuse to go in there. What are their visual clues? How are they walking? Are they fast paced or are they slow? Do they have their head down or head up, confident, right? Because your D's are going to be very confident. How do they greet you? Right? Is it the hug? Is it the firm handshake? And of course, how are they dressed? Are they business casual with dark clothes that has that command? Are they flamboyant and outgoing? Are they more casual? Okay. If they iron their jeans, that's a real good dead clue that they're a C. Okay. So how do we remember this? So again, we don't want to mistake an I for an S. Okay. It's the I personality is the attention they get from giving. Really quick, another story and we'll finish up. So years ago, we had this guy on our team. His name was Mike. Randy, you remember Mike? Hey now. Mike was a great salesperson. But anyway, we had this listing and it had a chimenea, but the chimenea looked like it was from Hawaii and Mike was Hawaiian. You remember Mike, Tina. And the only guy who could come in and get on the phone and make 10 calls and make a sale, like just crazy good salesperson. But anyway, we had this listing and we were out previewing and Mike was like, oh, I really love this chimenea. It reminds me of my heritage. So I filed away in the back of my head. Fast forward, it's Christmas time. And I intentionally tell Tina, I need Mike's name. I got to draw out Mike's name for Christmas. Now, mind you, we have a $20 limit for our, Secret Santa thing. I drive all around town, end up in Cave Creek or Carefree at that place that's got all the cool stuff. And it was way more than $20. And I find the chimenea. And so I surprise him on Christmas with the chimenea. And Mike's like, I can't believe you remembered that, right? And everyone's like, oh my gosh, Sarah, that's so cool of you. How many of you would think that was being an S? that I was so thoughtful and took the time and drove around town and spent more than I was supposed to and intentionally drew his name? No, that was me being an I, because everybody looked at me and went, wow, Sarah's so cool. Right? This is a true story, and I'm okay being transparent, but it's true, right? So don't mistake that you see someone doing something for somebody, because an S, if I asked Kim to come up here and stand up here and get recognition, she'll turn red and she won't want to come up here, because that S's don't want that attention, whereas an I does. So don't mistake that, okay? Be exact. Again, don't be close or approximate with a C. You have to be exact, okay? If you have a challenge being punctual, that's really difficult with a C. Okay, so I was raised that if you're not 10 minutes early, or if you're not 10 minutes early, you're late. So if that's a challenge for you, make sure you call and let people know. Even if you're going to be 30 seconds late, because a C, again, they're finding reasons not to like you, to not trust you. And if you're late, that sends a very clear message that you're not in control of your own time and you have no respect of their time. And that's another check against you as to why they can't work with you, okay? Don't underestimate the power of an S. I already told the story about the bear, right? And then if in doubt, ask more questions. Get them talking about themselves, right? Continue to ask questions. And we should ask questions anyways, right? The more we can get to know people, the better it is. And more that helps to create harmony, right? And help create that cohesiveness in the relationship. And then last slide, a little poem for you guys. Care like you're an S, smile like you're an I, prepare like you're a C, and sell like you are a D. That's all I have for you. Any questions or comments? No. You're welcome. I finished 4 minutes. 4 minutes. I feel pretty good about that. So again, you guys, invitations there. Take the Tony Robbins one. If you want to do a deep dive, I can go over it with you. I'm happy to do that. Just reach out. I don't have $50 for you. Sorry. Are you guys doing the mastermind? Okay, so you're gonna in-person mastermind. I'm probably not gonna stick around because I gotta catch a plane. But in-person mastermind is happening now. I would ask Jennifer what she learned, if she's sticking around, what she learned at a CE class she took recently about the NAR lawsuit. There is a webinar happening on the 7th. I think it's Riz Media is putting it on, but there is a webinar where we're going to have some industry panelists talk about that. So the more you guys can educate yourself, the better. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Sarah. All right, so yeah, we're jumping into mastermind. So stick around if you'd like, and we'll get into it. We can talk about more DIS stuff, talk about lawsuit stuff, whatever's on your minds.